Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unconventional Christmas Movie Smackdown, as I'm calling it. I am Liz, and joining me is my partner and partner in crime, Todd Bouvier, from
Hello.
a secure location, aka our home, where you can see our plant babies in the background. If you're not sure what this is going to be me, Todd, and Eric talking about some unconventional Christmas films and why they are actually the best Christmas films, and we will allow you, the viewer, to decide. So I am starting with Joe Dante's 1984 masterpiece, Gremlins. So why is this the best Christmas movie ever made? First off, the jaunty theme. If you've never heard the Gremlins theme, go type it into YouTube, listen to it, and then be prepared for that to never leave your head for the rest of your life. Second, it also takes place pretty much near Christmas, which is always a criteria for me. And it is about, I think, one of the most important lessons that you can teach anybody, especially a child, at a very young age, which is, hi, pets are not presents, they are lifelong responsibilities. And if you do not follow these rules, bad things are going to happen. In the real world, it's going to be the pet's going to die, or potentially eat something it shouldn't, have to go to the vet and run up a huge vet bill. Also, side note, pet insurance is a scam. It's my own personal opinion. But in the world of Gremlins, if you don't do it right, if you don't follow these rules, there are going to be more Gremlins, and they're not going to be cute little mogwais like Gizmo, which, by the way, Todd, I am waiting for a Gizmo plushie. Waiting.
Noted.
And then they'll soon be mean, creepy things like Stripe, and the one called Stripe is their leader. And then they'll also be like, we're gonna jump in the pool and create an army of gremlins that will wreak havoc on the town. And some of the things they do are fine, like, dispatching of an old dowager who is mean to people and wouldn't even give them a day's worth of relief on their mortgage. Yeah, bye. But other things, they're not so great. So again, perfect Christmas message. Pets are not gifts, they're responsibilities. Also, the third reason why I think this is one of the best Christmas movies is it's a dark comedy, which I automatically love. I tend to like Christmas films that are more comedy based. So I like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I love Bad Santa. But this has probably one of the darkest comedic moments in any Christmas film. If you have not seen this movie, spoilers, I'll let you skip over, or maybe Eric will put in a spoiler alert. But Phoebe Cates' character tells a story. Her father went missing a few days before Christmas. A few days after Christmas, their house started to smell. Turned out he wanted to surprise her for Christmas as Santa and got stuck in their chimney and died. That is a tightrope line to walk in terms of telling a story that is essentially a tragic story of a girl losing her father and still making it funny and one of the most memorable moments of the movie. So these are the three reasons I would say Gremlins is the best unconventional Christmas film of all time. Todd, rebuttal.
Well, two things I was a little surprised you didn't mention.
Okay.
First off, the fact the movie entirely hinges on a well-intentioned but ultimately misfired Christmas presents.
Well, exactly, but that's kind of it. It's the Christmas lesson of these presents seem good, but if you don't take care of them, they can turn out horribly wrong.
But it's like, you're saying it takes place around Christmas. The entire plot literally hinges on Christmas itself.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're saying the same things, you're just being more exact because you're more exact than I am.
And one of the things I actually will say further to its favor, and I'll admit that's going to be coming up in my own case, is it's sort of a different take on the Christmas idea. Like Joe Dante offers what's very much, it's almost like a Bedford Falls type of thing. It's this quaint small town Americana, complete with the crotchety old rich woman who totally has it coming, because if you fantasize that much about killing a dog, you deserve every bad thing that's coming to you.
Exactly. She fantasizes about killing dogs, and, again, there's a poor family right around Christmas, like, hey, can we have, like some relief on our mortgage? And she's like, no.
She mocks them to their faces. She deserves what she's got coming.
Horrible human being. See, this is the thing you mentioned with the Bedford Falls. One of the things I like about Gremlins is that it has the small town Americana thing without fetishizing it. If anything, Joe Dante is very willing to kind of lay bare the kind of more unsavory characters we would encounter in that town. And again, we kind of laugh when they get what's coming to them.
Well, except for Judge Reinhold, who just kind of falls out of the movie, but you can't win them all.
You know what? Judge Reinhold is just such a likable presence. He even makes this character like, you know what? I'll see a few more scenes of him. He's fine.
He's a little scummy, but yeah.
Maybe he never came back because Joe Dante did not want to ruin the good name of Judge Reinhold. Man's a treasure.
Fair enough.
Also, another good thing about this, sort of going off the Americana archetype that we do see in a lot of these Christmas movies, Billy's mom, you know, your very, I would say, quaint, stereotypical housewife, taking out 3 gremlins on her own. Also, well, do you hear what I hear plays in the background. Give me a more iconic Christmas massacre moment. I'll wait. Okay, so it's getting dark in here. I guess that means it's time for Tim Burton.
With that set up, as Liz has pointed out, likewise, I have picked an unconventional Christmas movie for this. I'm going off of the movie which I like to call, can you believe they sold this to children? Batman Returns, everyone. You know, it's funny. We talk about all the weird adult things coming out of the Zack Snyder films, and he has never done anything quite on the level of the weird sexual energy that movie has going for it.
I hate to interrupt you. I'll let you get back, but that is going to be the term of this discussion. Weird sexual energy. Carry on.
As far as the case for a Christmas movie, well, besides the obvious of the fact that, likewise, it takes place around Christmas, one of the things I think that stands out for this, going kind of off your idea of Gremlins, it's sort of like the counterpoint to It's a Wonderful Life. Batman Returns is almost in a weird similar vein to something like Twilight Zone's Night of the Meek. It's a Christmas story about basically the outcast types. At its core, you have essentially 3 very broken individuals. You have Bruce Wayne, who has never gotten over the death of his parents. He's constantly alone as a result of it, and that's basically his entire character arc in the film. You have Selena Kyle, who is perpetually, he spat on her entire life, nearly gets murdered, and then basically reinvents herself as a borderline unstable psychopath who actually managed to find kinship in the equally broken Bruce Wayne. And completing the trifecta, we have Danny DeVito in a show-stopping performance as the incredibly creepy Oswald Cobblepot, a guy who quite literally starts the beginning of this holiday-themed summer blockbuster being dumped into the river by his parents, and he gets so much worse from there.
He also kills Cat.
Well, yeah, and then for an encore, he decides he's going to massacre all the children in Gotham. Again, can you believe they tried to sell this to children? 92 was a weird year for Batman. Between that and Mask of the Phantasm, it was maybe the superhero isn't a child favorites.
Well, we have actually kind of done this before when we've discussed Batman, where we're like, Batman in and of itself is not a children's story. This is about a man who is traumatized by the murder of his parents, and the way he deals with it is by putting on a batsuit and fighting crime.
And honestly, a lot of the story is definitely not quite in that same vein. Like, it's things like it's political office. It's a whole lot of people coping with the fact that they don't fit in. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, there's movies you can sell to children. This is not one of them. Watch Leica, kids. Leica movies will get you where you're going.
You brought up the plot to massacre children, so that takes place, it is on Christmas Eve, correct? So it's like the final climax.
Exactly on, but I think it's close enough too.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, if you look at the original story of Christmas, that also at some point involved a plot to massacre a lot of children.
I honestly wonder
if anything, this is really close to Christmas.
Again, I wonder if Byrne did that on purpose.
But yeah, no, it also has that great moment midway through the film where Batman's framed, but with the Ice Princess in that very dark comic moment where she falls off the building.
Lights up the Christmas tree on the way down.
Well, again, I think that this isn't even us really doing a counterpoint to these movies anymore. This is just us going, we love these films so much.
It's hard for me to argue against either because they're both my holiday go-tos here. It's...
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the main thing we could probably argue against them is neither of them were intended to be films for Christmas. These were both summer movies. Gremlins was June of '84, and Batman was June of '92.
I want to say, let me double check. It might have been July. Let me check.
And right. Also, I think these are both movies that did get pushback for not being appropriate for kids. Gremlins is one where the parents saw PG and thought, oh, this will be fine, but I think forgetting that back in 84, PG could still cover a lot. But we're really shocked by this movie that was marketed with really cute little creatures, had so much cartoon violence in it. If anything, it's like a live action Itchy and Scratchy cartoon.
I would have gone with Chuck Jones, but that's also a valid point.
Well, yeah. We've been watching a lot of The Simpsons lately.
And no, I stand corrected. You're right. It was June of '92.
Okay. Back when summer movie season still started at the end of May and it wasn't starting in April.
Back when they actually had seasons.
Back when they had seasons. Back when we could go to movies. Remember movies, Todd?
Oh, back indeed.
I mean, they're great Christmas films. I would not recommend showing them to children, obviously, but I think they have their, again, the weird sexual energy, not only between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton, but Michelle Pfeiffer and Christopher Walken, Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito, Danny DeVito towards a few people.
It's like Danny DeVito and pretty much everybody.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer and pretty much everybody. Like,
also, yes.
Well, as you were saying, what did you say about this before we started recording?
This is probably some kids' awakenings. Let's be real.
Someone, boy, girl, gender nonconforming individual saw Michelle Pfeiffer and just figured, I want to be this or I want this. But I think they're very good Christmas films, and actually, they both have two final scenes that I love. The final shot of Gremlins, which is almost like kind of a painted Christmas town, with little Mr. Wing bringing the Mogwai back, like, oh, you humans aren't ready for this. And then that final, just shot with Bruce Wayne in the car with the cat. I mean, he gets something on Christmas. He gets a cat, but that exchange between him and Alfred, Alfred starts it, right?
Yeah, it's that peace on earth, goodwill towards men and
women.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about
how much of Selena's arc is literally just being essentially treated like trash because she's a woman. It's a valid point to kind of close out on.
I don't know if I consider it my favorite Christmas film. I do think that spot has to go to Gremlins, or I hate to say it, cliche answer, I really do love The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love my freaks and weirdos. I can't help it.
I mean, again, I can't judge. You kind of beat me to the punch on Gremlins, so Batman Returns is my number 2.
Yeah, but I would give it an underrated, like my most underrated pick, I think, for all the Christmas movies. Is that something telling me they don't like my pick? Oh, well. I am going to be hosting kind of a longer version of this little video that's going on, which is what makes a movie a Christmas movie and how some movies become a part of the Christmas canon. So tune into that 6:30 on December 14th, or it will be taped and shown you can find it on the Derry Public Library's YouTube page. And thank you for watching. And now, either before or after this, let's see how Eric defends both Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. But let me tell you this, Gremlins, Batman Returns, it's got some lessons. Does Die Hard have a lesson?
I mean, I've heard enough cases for Die Hard. Lethal Weapon, that's going to be the hat trick.
Ooh. Fighting words. Your take, Eric.
Thank you, Liz and Todd, for that introduction. Great job on those movies, by the way. I can't disagree with you on much that you said, and since you have no chance to defend yourself here, I'm not really going to poke at any of those films. I will say that for me personally, Gremlins resonates more with me around Christmas than does Batman Returns. I would go, if it were me, if I were the judge, I would go Gremlins over Batman Returns, if for no other reason than I just think that the tone of Gremlins is more Christmassy. And I think it's certainly an easier case to make for Gremlins being a Christmas movie. I mean, perhaps I'm a bit jaded because when I saw Batman Returns in the theater, my expectations for that movie were through the roof. Like, I thought it was going to be every bit as good as the 1989 Batman that Tim Burton directed. It isn't. I don't think there's much an argument that it isn't as good as that movie. But maybe you disagree, and so I shouldn't continue on that. But anyway, the tone of that movie caught me completely off guard. And as a 12-year-old kid seeing that movie in the theater, I felt it was really, really weird. It was certainly not what I was expecting. And it's not, for me, it's not a movie that I go to like around Christmas time every year because it just isn't tone wise. I don't think that it's my cup of tea. But I can see why it's part of your Christmas canon. So I can't pick any fights with you on that. I think you've got, a strong case to be made for that. So it was originally going to be my friend Mark arguing the side of Die Hard and me arguing the side of Lethal Weapon. But Mark unfortunately had death in the family, and he'll return to future videos, I'm sure. Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, both just spectacular, spectacular movies. Be they Christmas movies or not, they are perhaps my two favorite action movies to emerge out of the action movie decade, the 1980s, the decade of Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Van Damme and Steven Seagal and everything. I mean, it's like Chuck Norris, you name it. That decade is just the decade of action. And yet, I think at the end of the day, I think above the Terminator, above the Rambo movies, above Commando, above Predator, above Aliens, I think I would probably put Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, 1A and 1B, just depending on my mood. Because they are the most rewatchable, entertaining films that you could ask for. And as far as their Christmas connections, there are many, many of them in both of these movies. And I think because of those Christmas connections, I always tend to watch these movies around Christmas every year. It's not because they're as festive as Miracle on 34th Street or A Christmas Story or Elf, but they definitely are Christmassy. They have unmistakable Christmas moments that are used for both comic effect and touching effect within the film. I mean, let's start with the easier one, which for me actually is Lethal Weapon. And Todd, I know you said it would be the hat trick if I was able to somehow make the case for Lethal Weapon being a Christmas movie, but I think it's pretty on the nose. I see Lethal Weapon as being a very cagey, very coy reworking of A Christmas Carol. And A Christmas Carol that is almost unrecognizable. But if you look at the characters and the situation within it, I think that you can see that the Mel Gibson character is meant to be Ebenezer Scrooge in that movie, who has completely disconnected from society at the start of the film, and by the end has been welcomed back into the human family. And Danny Glover is essentially his shepherd through all of the trials and tribulations of the film, and they end up together as part of the human family. There's a lot of references to A Christmas Carol throughout the movie, including a scene near the end where Mr. Joshua, Gary Busey, appears in Danny Glover's home and is looking around trying to find Mel Gibson and Danny Glover and Danny Glover's family. And what is playing on the TV in the background that he even references as he's in the scene? A Christmas Carol. Alistair Sims' Christmas Carol from 1951. The classic version of A Christmas Carol. It's on multiple TVs in that room. And it's the scene where Scrooge has returned and he has arrived at Christmas Day. And so that is where Mel Gibson has arrived at that moment. He's come back. He gets to have his showdown with Mr. Joshua out on the lawn. He beats the ever-loving crap out of Mr. Joshua. And then he and Danny Glover finish him off in true action movie 80s style, slow motion. Simultaneous gunshots. Game over. Mel Gibson's back. He makes peace with losing his wife. He visits her grave and is then back, welcomed into Danny Glover's home as it's been repaired for Christmas dinner, the world's lousiest Christmas turkey, as Danny Glover says at the end of the movie. You're looking at an Ebenezer Scrooge character in Mel Gibson's character, Martin Riggs, in that movie. But there's all kinds of other Christmassy references throughout. There's Christmas decorations throughout the movie. It's set in the week preceding Christmas. I think it's meant to start about 1 week ahead. They never actually say the date, but I think you actually see 4 days play out leading up to the final day. And you could kind of, it's implied that some time maybe has elapsed, a couple days between that last fight on Danny Glover's lawn and then when Mel Gibson shows up at the house at the end of the film. So it's about a week leading up to Christmas. You have, let's see, Mel Gibson in the Christmas tree lot, busting the drug dealers. You have the police in the station singing Silent Night. You have Jingle Bell Rock, which starts the movie, and I'll Be Home for Christmas, which ends the movie. You have an extremely dark scene early in the film, like less than a quarter of the way in, where Mel Gibson's character is contemplating suicide, and he has the gun held in his mouth while a Christmas episode of Bugs Bunny is playing on TV in the background. So it's kind of like his darkest moment of the film. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of layers of Christmas in this movie. So moving on to Die Hard. We're going to need some new FBI guys, I guess. Bag it. Come out to the coast. We'll have a few laughs. Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight. I must have missed 60 minutes. What exactly are you saying? No, Asian Dawn. D-A-W-N. I'm Agent Johnson. This is Agent Johnson. No relation. Unfortunately, Mr. Takagi will not be joining us for the rest of his life. Oh, the police have themselves an RV. Oh, the quarterback is toast. Die Hard. John McTiernan's action movie masterpiece, which, as many awesome action movies as that man has directed, he will never top Die Hard. Die Hard is the quintessential action film of the late 80s. I mean, as much as I personally love Lethal Weapon, and I consider the two to be like 1A and 1B, as I've said, Die Hard is flawless. There's not a single thing in that movie that I would change. From a Christmas movie standpoint, I mean, it has a lot of the same stuff going on that you had in Lethal Weapon. Christmas decor is everywhere. It's set at Christmas. It's taking place on Christmas Eve. John McClane traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast to be essentially reunited with his family on Christmas. He's not getting back together with his wife, Holly Gennaro, but it's definitely got a strong message, again, of coming together, of family, winning out at the end, of friendship and camaraderie, the relationship that John McClane has with Al Powell, the cop who you first see in the convenience store buying the Twinkies, and then is later the first on the walkie-talkie or on the phone with John McClane. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people do identify Die Hard with Christmas, and I think it's obvious as to why. I mean, it is set completely on Christmas Eve. There's tons of talk about Christmas throughout the movie. There's lines about it being Christmas Eve when they're going to cut the power. There's talk about miracles on Christmas when they break into the vault. There's lots and lots of things about Christmas. I mean, the score to the movie is basically sleigh bells ringing slowly. It starts off when John McClane is arriving in Los Angeles in the airport. It continues throughout the movie. And then, of course, you've got Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow that's playing over the end credits, as the confetti essentially rains down on them over the disaster zone that has become Nakatomi Plaza as it has been destroyed. There's so many things about that movie that are playing off of the holiday movie tropes, I guess, in a fun way. The film uses the fact that it's Christmas very effectively to heighten the tension amongst the hostages to create a very believable situation, a hostage situation, because there's many people who've been involved in office Christmas parties similar to the one that you're seeing in Die Hard. It kind of took a situation that a lot of people had experienced and kind of turned it into something more, something extraordinary. So yeah, something else that I forgot to mention about Lethal Weapon. The director, Richard Donner, went on immediately after doing Lethal Weapon to direct Scrooged, which was actually a direct adaptation of A Christmas Carol. So even further supporting the notion that they were playing with some of those themes in Lethal Weapon. It was definitely on his mind when that movie was being made. So thank you guys for watching this. I had a great time contributing to it. I know Liz and Todd also did. And this won't be the last you hear from us on crazy topics like this, because we have such a good time working on them. See you guys soon. Take care.